Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 153. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for Weekly Recap Newsletter 201. So just a quick summary of things we'll go over today. This past week in Star Atlas, actually it was back in December, but somebody posted in the Star Atlas Discord a comment that was made back in December by Michael Wagner that I wanted to go over. There was an Atlas Brew, which talking about Zinc and a little bit about Holosim, and then the belated Economy Forum, which usually happens on the first of the month, but with the holidays, happened this week. Went over things like the, I can't remember the acronym, but the OMO, I don't know. Anyways, just the way the team's selling ships. Anyways, and then a little bit of C4 news. And then I'll do my kind of thoughts on the state of Star Atlas and what I've been doing in playing Star Atlas. So, but before I get to that, just a couple things about what I'm working on in Star Atlas. Again, you can check out my website, intergalacticherald.com. Great resource website for Star Atlas. Got many guides, beginner guides specifically, directories, things like Star Atlas content creators, builders, tools, things like that. You can also check out my recaps. I have both the newsletter of the past week plus a summary, AI summary of any of the Star Atlas community events. And then finally, if you want to sign up to get announcements from the Star Atlas Discord, you can do that and get emailed there. So check all that out on intergalacticherald.com. I do have a Star Atlas merch store. I admit it's totally stale, but if you want a Star Atlas mug with logos on it, and you're in the United States, you can get that. There's a merch survey there. Love to get feedback, but I'll bet haven't done anything about putting new products up. So, and then also I'd love to get together if some other Star Atlas gamers who aren't going to be joining guilds are interested in getting together in a community. So you can check that out at intergalacticcoalition.com. Oh, if I forgot, the merch store is intergalacticgear.com. So as I mentioned, a couple of things happened this past week. The first one actually was comments made by Michael Wagner in the Star Atlas Discord, but they actually go back to December. I'll just kind of skip over those, reading them, and read and discuss that in my next section. But yes, the Star Atlas Brew occurred, second one of the new hosting routines. Ironically, there were ultimately four gentlemen with the starting initial J, so Jose and Jim, the web director, and John, the Holosim guy. Sorry, I don't know if he has a title. And then actually, for a few minutes, the chief technical officer, Jacob, showed up. So anyway, so it was definitely jam-packed with lots of great technical information. So the first one, they kind of started in general on Zinc, and a few of the things they brought up that I found interesting. Again, if you want to hear the whole recording, Star Atlas TV's YouTube channel has the whole recording, and if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already got my 5-minute plus summary recap of the Atlas Brews. Otherwise, you can check those out on my website and listen to those. So again, this was more about Zinc. So the first one they mentioned, but again, because Jim is kind of the web director, anything that involves web there. So Zinc is a web product, but so is Holosim, and Holosim's running on Zinc in one form or another. So they kind of mentioned that. But one of the things I thought was very interesting, and again, I'm sure it's been said before, but it kind of connected two things that have been themes for me. One is that on the Holosim, there is no need for a wallet. Now, there is, I guess, behind the scenes a wallet because it is running on Zinc. So all the transactions there are blockchain transactions, but that's and again, I'm not sure, they throw out lots of terms, whether it's the forerunner to Zinc or it's currently Zinc, or again, it's their test blockchain networks, some form of it. So, but they did mention that, yeah, the wallet they have found is definitely a barrier to entry. Bring it to Sage. Holosim. Sorry, I don't remember why I wrote that down. Holosim to bring into... that's... sorry, now I remember. So the other purpose that they really are showing that is Holosim is a way to bring people into Sage. So they show the gameplay, they show things and say, hey, if you'd actually like to move into this different environment where there are real-world implications of being on the blockchain and things like that, you'll feel at home. So again, definitely this idea that Holosim is the entry product into the larger Star Atlas economy is there. Somebody asked if there'll still be rental fees in Holosim or Zinc, and they said yes, because it is basically a copy or a clone of Solana. So anything that's on Solana exists. But again, given that the projected token price, it will be so low those rental fees just won't actually have much of an impact. But they're stressing that they want to keep, as best they can, Zinc identical to Solana, so everything will work. Another thing they mentioned that I guess I had heard, but I didn't really realize, so there are multiple seasons. They definitely like the seasons concept with Holocim and Zinc. But on the Zinc rewards, that those rewards will come in seasons and they'll come in multiple fashions. And one, they said, would be the airdrop of Zinc, but also this multi-pass. And I guess finally multi-pass is starting to make more sense to me. Partly, I admit, I did spend the $10 to get the one for the accrue or extra reward multiplier. But multi-pass is a concept, and that's, I think, what I missed before. And that each of those levels of doing it. So basically, actually, before I get to that, so multi-pass is a product. It has levels, but those levels and the rewards are determined per, and I put per game because they kind of talked about other games, but I guess it's anybody who wants to run on the Zinc network can leverage this to provide rewards to people who have profiles. So again, you may not participate to earn them. Like in this case, the only way on the Star Atlas side is to buy a subscription, but they're not dependent upon being only in Star Atlas. This is just the Star Atlas multi-pass. So I'm like, oh, okay, no, that finally makes sense. So again, just didn't understand that initially, but that finally made sense. Somebody also asked that they saw the Origin season, so the current version or the active version we're in, Zinc Star Atlas, had changed the countdown timer, and it was clarified that it will end, but they haven't picked the ending because they don't want that to be fixed. And again, this goes back to how people are doing things. So it will end. You will get all the airdrops. The date just is now fluid. So they didn't want to restrict it to the original, whatever time frame they said. It might obviously go longer, but that wasn't a problem. That's just why they took down the countdown. The other thing that they talked a little bit about is a bridge. And again, this is where I'm just not savvy or knowledgeable enough crypto, but I believe because the Zinc blockchain is its own thing and Solana is its own thing, that in order to move things between, I think it's both ways, you need a bridge. Okay, that's an analogy. I get it. I don't know what it means. And then I guess they mentioned something, they might do a bridge with something or someone called Backpack. I'm like, okay, I don't know. So yeah, so I guess that was news to the community. Sorry, I don't know what that means. But then I'm pretty sure that Jacob, the chief technical officer, got on at that point and mentioned again that they do have a bridge strategy and went into much more in depth. But he also mentioned that bridges are usually the first or very high risk thing, but even with audits and stuff. And I don't know, that's the first time I was like, oh, this just isn't bulletproof. So I don't know. But again, he sounded incredibly knowledgeable and competent, so I'm sure they'll figure it out, whatever all this means. So anyways, they also talked about the validators, which again, totally over my head, but I know that's who processes the transactions. So they talked a little bit about that. But again, they mentioned since Zinc is a clone of Solana, that this might be a place for other people who want to build because their projects can actually be cheaper. And then again, I guess you bridge between the two. Again, I'm not sure, but that was good. And then the ending of the Atlas Brew was talking a little about a Holocim. Unfortunately, they had some technical difficulties showing it, but they did mention that one thing, that the battles within Holocim for Chapter Season 2 will take more time. And what was kind of fascinating about that, not just that they won't be instantaneous, which I have to admit, that does sound kind of, a letdown. Ooh, I lost, kind of. Sorry, it goes back to like when bad analogy. When you play a slot machine, you put your money in, you spin it, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't fun. There was just no time. Anyways, but the cool part is apparently you can also like reinforce things. Like if you're in a battle and it's not working, you could bring more people in and things like that. So anyways, so the time, yeah, it feels right. They shouldn't be instantaneous. So that was interesting. They also mentioned they will be adding more. I'm not sure, again, if they're tutorial videos, but definitely videos of interactions and audio, and they tried to play some of that. So definitely releasing more about kind of how the Holocim work. Making an inference, since they were ready to show it. Again, it feels like, and they've been hinting that it's shortly coming out. So again, if they're willing to show there. Anyway, so yeah, that was pretty much the Atlas Brew. That was on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, there was the Econ Forum. As they were giving a couple minutes for people to arrive in the thing, they did mention that the team, the Star Atlas team itself, had their first internal demo of C4. So that was good to know. And then the bulk of it was talking about this thing called OMO, which I have completely forgotten what it stands for, but it's basically where Star Atlas is both selling and buying ships and doing other changes to the galactic market price. And so Chris, again, I don't remember every titles, but the economist for Star Atlas went into kind of some things. And if you've followed my podcast before, you know I usually say that a lot of this just goes over my head, and I always blame it on being late at night, because I typically watch the YouTube videos on Friday nights, definitely not live and definitely not in the day they come out. And I've always said maybe I just, it's economic things and it just makes me fall asleep. Well, this time I actually watched first thing Saturday morning and I listened better, but it still kind of went over my head. So again, I really do feel like I'm in a college course, but nevertheless, at least the terms and the concept was presented doesn't mean I understood it. So, but many charts were shown. One was, I guess, an economic principle of differences in differences. You have to really think about that for a while, I guess. But anyway, so there's that. Again, Star Atlas TV has the full video and the summary. They noted some things on the pricing of the changes that they did, some things on the revenue growth. I'm not going to even try to remember stats, and part of the reason why I see Chris did mention that this is based on limited data. So again, statistical relevant. I don't know, but they did note that of whatever was presented, nothing seems negative, more seems positive, but too early to for sure show, or I don't know. So there was a lot. One interesting thing that was mentioned from Chris's analysis is that it does show that revenue, which they did get some, not a ton, but again, there wasn't a lot of data, not a lot of things that occurred in the time frame, does seem to scale with, the prediction was that revenue should scale with player growth, and that makes total sense. So, and then the final point that was made was that if this change had been a negative, you would have expected prices to go down on other things, but they didn't go down. So if nothing else didn't affect anything, though it appears to have affected it in a positive way. So again, if you want all the nuances, you're going to have to listen to the whole video. I can't even promise my AI summary will do it justice. And then they went over at the end just a few more kind of things related. One, they will be putting more assets up. So apparently whatever was up is being taken down. Now there's another group of things being put out. So that's interesting. I thought I heard this, but I need to go check because it affects me directly. They mentioned some of the redemption recipes will go down again. I think I heard that again. So I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I'll go check because, of course, I recalculate everything for my Mamba X goal, and I'd love it if they went down. They also mentioned some other blockchain that was released, FOGO. I don't follow enough to know all of that stuff. So, and then they did mention also that in C4 there won't be any LP or loyalty points. Again, I didn't play that part of the game, so I don't have a pro or a con. But the ending did talk a little bit about C4, and one thing that maybe it's been said before, but it definitely resonated this time with me, was that the primary earning mechanism is going to be combat. And so they said that the ships are pretty basic. You have to put all the ship parts on, but the primary earning mechanism is combat. So the destroying of the ships, or I thought it was the ship parts, because you can't destroy, you could destroy your ships if you're in the high risk zone, but if you're in the medium risk zone, you won't destroy the ship, you'll just destroy the parts on the ship. And again, maybe that's how the Atlas moves between, because he mentioned that if you have $1,000 in parts, then the person winning gets Atlas. I just don't remember. But the key point was that the earning mechanism is combat. The two primary forms of combat are ship destruction and attacking star bases. So kind of going back to the mentioning about the time it takes for battles in Holosim, and you definitely are, I'm feeling, hey, cool. Anyway, so I'll get in more thoughts on that in a second. So anyway, so that was, again, pretty much what happened this past week in Star Atlas. So moving forward again on the state of Star Atlas, kind of teased again about some of the comments Michael Wagner made in the Discord back in December. So now I'll read those in their entirety. I think they came from the Economy Forum. Somebody posted somewhere linking back to them, so that's why I don't read all the other, well, I don't read tons of the Discord word for word. So, but back on December 16th, and again, as I typically do, I don't record the question. I just record the answer, especially if it's from a team member. So anyways, Michael Wagner stated to some question, yeah, more money would help. We continue operating a limited budget with reduced resources given our current balance sheet. As I've said, we can get by essentially indefinitely, but that comes at a cost of team size. More money equals more features plus faster development. And then 14 minutes later, he responded to somebody else saying, I think I have at least 3 backup plans. Star Atlas never goes away, but how it materializes could change. However, we do have a pretty killer town hall lined up for tomorrow, so keep all spirits up. So I think what was really actually interesting is, and again, it's obviously could have been said before, I just didn't see it. But this kind of something I've been saying, that it feels like, again, that things could happen quicker if they had more people, but to have more people, then you know, a budget. And so this, I guess, is just finally official confirmation of my theory, which is, yeah, I mean, this is what we get because this is what they have, money for. So that makes sense. But I think the second one was new information, to me at least. Backup plans, again, who knows, and they're just that, backup plans. But sure feels like, again, whoever, founders, I mean, I don't know who the ultimate stakeholders are. I guess it's the founders. I've never heard that they have released their partnership agreement. I mean, they call them founders, but I mean, I don't know who owns what. And again, they've always talked about giving it all away to the DAO, but I would assume at this point, let me back up. I'm sure they're an incorporated business in the United States or somewhere. So there is a ownership agreement. We've never heard of decision-making being solo. So I assume they have some form of, I guess the word equity, I'm not sure, but decision-making something. Anyway, so the fact that it's mentioned that, yeah, Star Atlas never goes away and they have backup plans. Well, again, they could pivot something, I mean, they don't have to give it away to the DAO, I mean, there's so many different things they could do to keep going. So that is actually kind of slightly, I'm not sure if it's encouraging, but more of, I guess I'll go back to my standard stuff of being pragmatic. Yeah, who would start something and not have backup plans? And who wouldn't start something knowing down the road if something goes haywire, they wouldn't pivot to try something else or do something else with it? So, yeah, again, like you said, it may, how it materializes can change. I mean, who knows what that means? But, yeah, again, I guess it just feels like nice to hear, but also nice to yeah, obviously. Now, again, and it doesn't really matter. They're not focused on how to fail. They're focused on how to succeed. But again, these are just been things I think that have been floating around for a long time. And it continues to come out that, yeah, I mean, they're running a business like a business. And you can't go into debt if nobody will give you money. I mean, again, so you still have to get credit. So anyways, I thought all that was great. And again, just didn't see it back in December. So as far as Zinc, definitely concur with the wallet is barrier to entry. And now it feels like, again, having some entry products like Holosym where people can just play. If they like it, then, there is a onboarding process to get involved in the economy. I mean, it just feels better for now. Again, this is the web stuff. So to me, this is much more focused on the economy and its interfaces, whether that is Sage, the UE5, again, this, not that it won't interact with the blockchain, but it's always been framed as a different part of the Star Atlas metaverse. So, yeah, I mean, and we know they took the wallet requirement away from UE5 too. So, maybe to earn things, you got to add a wallet. Who knows what it's going to happen there. So, also, again, the idea that Holosym's the entry point makes a ton of sense. It was interesting to hear that these reward seasons for Zinc will have resets. And again, I guess it makes it much more or less that the first season that we're in, this Origin, not getting a lot of promotion and things like that. And even the comment at, I think it was the town hall, that, it's fine. It's just going to reward the Star Atlas people that have been there the longest. So, the fact that if there didn't feel like there was a reset from the alpha, but future ones will have reset. I mean, that feels right. And again, it may have just been, hey, let's just get this first one under our belt, get the actual Zinc network, which of course doesn't exist publicly, and then worry about the next reward season again if everybody resets. So again, still feels like what they said initially, just push down one phase. Don't understand the bridging. Just don't get technology concerns, but I guess good to know there's technology concerns. And as I mentioned before, the holosim emphasizing battle time, it just feels like a much better gaming mechanism. So on the economy, differences, yeah, I'm sorry, that's over my head. But again, it does sound like whatever this OMO thing, again, I just can't remember. I'll write it down next time. It's doing what they want. Excited to see some new asset listings. Again, probably not going to buy, but I did see that they're releasing all the claim stakes and some other ships, so that's good. And definitely the idea that C4's earning mechanism is combat, that really sounds good. Also, I wondered if it means basically a small player can still get small rewards. And again, now on Zinc, you don't have the transaction fees, but you're also not fighting on the mining loop or the scanning loop. I mean, you're doing combat. And so, again, you wouldn't fight a bigger, massive fleet compared to your small fleet. You'd go out looking for small things. Hopefully, again, big fleets can't gain up on little fleets. Again, it feels like there could be some parity there with, again, combat being something that's player versus player as opposed to just mining and scanning and things like that. So, and I think combat sounds more like a game. First word that pops into my video game that pops in my mind with the word combat is combat on the Atari 2600. You were this little block, like 4x4 pixel, and you shoot this one little pixel against another tank. And my sister and I played that. That was fun. It was just barely a step up from Pawn. But again, sorry, Pawn. I know I'm dating myself, but I hope you guys know what that means. But again, hey, I'm shooting my sister and her tank blows up. This is fun. It was 4 little pixels. Come on. So again, I think this is, it sounds like a game. But the cool thing with NC4, of course, is there is the economic ramifications, which is why Star Atlas is unique. And then the final point, which was early on, kind of as a throwaway, they said, again, that the first initial internal demo of C4 was given to the team. That's very encouraging. If they're ready to show inside, and that, it shows the progression. So that's great news to hear, even if we can't see it yet. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on the state of Star Atlas past week. I'll just wrap up again talking about my journey. So again, my goal is to craft a Mamba X. Been working on the resources, got my spreadsheet finally working over the paper. Had to write down notes to not over mine things, so everything's going good there. Decided to stop a small movement fleet I was doing that was taking food out to a starbase that didn't have any in the local market, so I think there's enough food there. Plus, again, every fleet I run is X times more Solana fees, so instead of being 3 fleets running, I only have 2, so I reduced my Solana by 1/3, so that's cool. Still mining whatever I'm mining, and I'm still moving back whatever I'm moving back. So pretty much standard, steady as she goes type of thing. But again, side benefit is ever so slowly moving up the ranks on the Zinc profile. I'm doing a daily track of that, so seeing how many whatever Zinky thingies I'm earning and then where my rank in the leaderboard is. So I admit it's kind of cool to see a couple places every day. I'm sure I'll hit some sort of head thing where anyways, I'm sure I'm not doing enough to justify. It's accumulating more things, but at some point I'm sure I'll hit people that big gulf between it, because my numbers, I think, somewhere in the sixes, 100,000 somethings, and some people are in like 10 plus million. So it's not even close. So, but anyways, that's what I'm playing. So anyways, that's pretty much it for Star Atlas, my thoughts. Again, totally open if anybody wants to be a guest on the podcast. Please reach out on my website, intergalactichero.com. Love to talk with any of our community members, any Star Atlas builders who want to promote their project, any content creators, of course, any team members who just want to talk about really basic beginner type topics. Don't need alpha. Don't even want to know alpha. Just, what do you think a new player who wants to get into Star Atlas would be interested in learning about? So I'm glad to be a platform for that. Again, do check out my website, intergalacticherald.com. Many resources for Star Atlas guides, directories, recaps, Discord newsfeed. If you want a Star Atlas mug, check out intergalacticgear.com. So long as you're in the United States, pretty sure you can still buy on my store. I'm paying Shopify a fee every month, so I think it's up. And again, I love to get together with other Star Atlas gamers who don't want to join guilds but never want to hang out. Please check out Intergalactic Coalition. So, and again, that's the Week in Star Atlas. My name is Matt with Intergalactic Herald. Have a great week ahead.